Hello, and welcome to another video. Today I'll be giving you a tour of my Doran, the Siege Tower Commander deck. This is an Abzan treefolk-themed deck where toughness matters. And if you've been a long-time viewer of my channel, this might look a bit familiar. I think this was the second commander deck that I ever made a video for. And there have been some updates to the deck list as well, including integrating some of the Abzan Armor Commander deck from Tarkir Dragonstorm. As soon as I saw that they were coming out with a precon deck that had a toughness theme, I knew I had to pick that up and to see if there were any cards that I could use for Doran. So I will link to the unboxing video for that one if you want to check that out. But for now, let's get into Doran. Alright, so the commander is Doran the Siege Tower. He is black-green-white for a 0/5, legendary treefolk shaman. And he says, each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So Doran can effectively behave like a 5/5 for just 3 mana, if we're talking about combat specifically, which is awesome. And this affects all creatures on the battlefield, including your opponents, which can be good or bad. So your opponent's 3/1 creature will now deal only 1 damage, but their 1/4 is going to get a pretty significant upgrade. So he can kind of swing both ways, but of course the deck is engineered with the hope that our creatures are going to have the highest toughness, so that we're always coming out on top. And I'll be sure to put a link to a deck list in the description if this interests you and you want to take a look at everything all together. But let's move right along and look at the rest of the creatures. First up, we've got Treefolk Harbinger. It is a single green for a 0/3 Treefolk Druid. When a Treefolk Harbinger comes into play, you may search your library for a Treefolk or Forest card. Reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top. So, not a bad tutor card. I really don't mind playing this either early or late. Bosk Banneret is 1 and a green for a 1/3 Treefolk Shaman. Treefolk spells and shaman spells you play cost 1 less to play. I love having mana reduction effects, and you'll see there are a few more like this in here. Seed Guide Ash is 4 and a green for a 4/4 treefolk druid. When Seed Guide Ash is put into a graveyard from play, you may search your library for up to 3 forest cards and put them into play tapped. If you do, shuffle your library. Unfortunately, this is a treefolk with equal power and toughness, though not bad to have some power in case Doran isn't around. Everbark Shaman is 4 and a green for a 3/5 treefolk shaman that you can tap and exile a treefolk card from your graveyard to search your library for 2 forest cards and put them into play tapped. Then shuffle your library. Timber Protector is 4 and a green for a 4/6 treefolk warrior. Other treefolk creatures you control get +1/+1. Other treefolk and forests you control are indestructible. So, very useful creature to have around. Verdaloth the Ancient is 4 green for a 4/7 legendary treefolk with kicker X. Sapperling creatures and other treefolk creatures get +1/+1. When Verdaloth the Ancient enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, put X/1/1 green sapperling creature tokens onto the battlefield. Quick Beam Upstart Ent is 4 green for a 5/6 legendary treefolk. Whenever Quick Beam Upstart Ent or another treefolk enters the battlefield under your control, up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. Unstoppable Ash is 3 and a green for a 5/5 treefolk warrior with trample, and champion a treefolk or warrior. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, it gets +0/+5 until end of turn. There's definitely some non-treefolk warriors in here, so it's nice that this can use those if needed. Black Poplar Shaman is 2 and a black for a 1/3 treefolk shaman. And for 2 and a black, you can regenerate target treefolk. Ancient Lumberknot is 2 black green for a 1/4 treefolk. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So, kind of a redundant Doran effect, but is only for your creatures. Deadwood Treefolk is 5 and a green for a 3/6 treefolk with vanishing 3. When Deadwood Treefolk enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, return another target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Colfiner, the Last You, is 3 white, black, green for a 3/7 legendary treefolk shaman with vigilance and reach. Whenever Colfiner, the Last You, or another creature you control dies, return up to one other target creature card with lesser toughness from your graveyard to your hand. So, at 7 toughness, I feel like this one can get almost anything. It's a little tougher for the ones that are only like 3 or 4 toughness, but still a really good card. Orchard Warden is 4 green green for a 4/6 treefolk shaman. Whenever another treefolk creature comes into play under your control, you may gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Sapling of Colfiner is 3 hybrid black green, hybrid black green for a 2/5 legendary treefolk shaman. Sapling of Colfiner is indestructible. Whenever Sapling of Colfiner attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you gain life equal to that card's toughness. Lose life equal to its power. Then put it into your hand. I absolutely love this card. Woodfall Primus is 5 green 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 for a 6/6 treefolk shaman with trample, and when Woodfall Primus enters the battlefield, destroy target non-creature permanent. And it has persist. Wickerbough Elder is 3 and a green for a 4/4 treefolk shaman. Wickerbough Elder comes into play with a -1/-1 counter on it. Pay a green and remove a -1/-1 counter from Wickerbough Elder. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Leaf-crowned elder is 2 green for a 3/5 treefolk shaman with kinship. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it shares a creature type with leaf-crowned elder, you may reveal it. If you do, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. Another card I absolutely love. It is so good. Dauntless Dowerbark is 3 and a green for a star treefolk warrior. Dauntless Dowerbark's power and toughness are each equal to the number of forests you control, plus the number of treefolk you control. Dauntless Dowerbark has trample as long as you control another treefolk. Oak Gnarl Warrior is 5 green for a 5/7 treefolk warrior with vigilance and trample. And our last treefolk is, of course, Indomitable Ancients. It is 2 white for a vanilla 2/10 treefolk warrior. And then for our non-treefolk creatures, we've got Sakura Tribe Elder, 1 and a green for a 1/1 snake shaman that you can sacrifice to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Arbor Adherent is 3 and a green for a 2/4 dog druid that you can tap to add 1 mana of any color, or tap to add X mana of any 1 color, where X is the greatest toughness among other creatures you control. This is a new edition, and I cannot wait to tap it for 10 mana someday. Umori the Collector is 2 hybrid black-green for a 4/5 legendary ooze. The companion part doesn't matter at all, but as Umori the Collector enters the battlefield, choose a card type. Spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. Felithar the Steadfast is 1 white-black-green for a 0/5 legendary human warrior. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender, and pay 3 tap and sacrifice another creature, draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness, then discard cards equal to its power. So, again, another redundant Doran effect, but only affects your creatures. Betor, kin to all, is 2 white, black, green for a 5/7 legendary spirit dragon with flying. At the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life, rounded up. I don't know how likely each of these is, but I feel like at least drawing a card is pretty attainable. Nylea, God of the Hunt, is 3 and a green for a 6/6 legendary enchantment creature god with indestructible. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea isn't a creature. Other creatures you control have trample. Pay 3 and a green. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Eternal Witness is 1 green for a 2/1 human shaman. When Eternal Witness comes into play, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. And this one gets a downgrade from Doran, but not really the point of playing this card. Catapult Fodder is 2 and a black for a 1/5 zombie. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that each have toughness greater than their power, transform Catapult Fodder. And it becomes Catapult Captain, a 2/6 zombie. And you can pay 2 and a black, tap it and sacrifice another creature. Target opponent loses life, equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So maybe you can knock an opponent out with this. Silklash Spider is 3 green for a 2/7 spider with reach. And pay X green. Silklash Spider deals X damage to each creature with flying. So there aren't many creatures in here with flying, but you do definitely want to be careful. And that is our final creature of the deck. Next, let's look at instants and sorceries. Starting out this section with some ramp, we've got Rampant Growth. It is 1 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Cultivate is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards and put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand. Then shuffle. Kodama's Reach is the same thing. It is 2 and a green for a sorcery arcane. Search your library for 2 basic land cards. Reveal them. Put one into play tapped and the other into your hand. Then shuffle. Migration Path is 3 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And it has cycling for 2. Moving on to some removal, we've got Crozen Grip. It is 2 and a green for an instant with split second. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Root Grapple is 4 and a green for a kindred instant, treefolk. Destroy target non-creature permanent. If you control a treefolk, draw a card. Deathsprout is 1 black green for an instant. Destroy target creature. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Go for the Throat is 1 and a black for an instant. Destroy target non-artifact creature. Putrefy is 1 black-green for an instant. Destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated. Mortify is 1 white-black for an instant. Destroy target creature or enchantment. Abrupt Decay is black-green for an instant. Abrupt Decay can't be countered by spells or abilities. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. Swords to Plowshares is white for an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Path to Exile is a single white for an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Wrath of God is 2 white for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Our last bit of removal is Merciless Eviction. It is 4 white for a sorcery. Choose 1. Exile all artifacts, or all creatures, or all enchantments, or all planeswalkers. We've got a couple of tutors here, starting with Worldly Tutor. It is a single green for an instant. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top. And Demonic Tutor is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Search your library for a card and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Seasons Past is 4 green for a sorcery. Return any number of cards with different converted mana costs from your graveyard to your hand. Put Seasons Past on the bottom of its owner's library. Absan Charm is 1 black for an instant. Choose 1. Exile target creature with power 3 or greater. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. Distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. And finally, we've got Ready and Willing. Ready is 1 green for an instant. Creatures you control are indestructible this turn. untap each creature you control. And willing is 1 white-black for an instant. Creatures you control gain death touch and lifelink until end of turn. And they have fuse. So that is all for the instants and sorceries. Up next are the enchantments. Our first enchantment is Assault Formation. It is 1 and a green for an enchantment. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. You can pay a green, and target creature with defender can attack this turn as though it didn't have defender. And for 2 and a green, creatures you control get +0/+1 until end of turn. So, a great way to pump your entire team if you've got mana to spare. Banishing Light is 2 and a white for an enchantment. When Banishing Light enters, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls. Aura Shards is 1 green-white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature comes into play under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. I really love this card, but understandably, opponents really do not. So this one ends up getting destroyed a lot. And kinda same for this one. Asceticism is 3 green for an enchantment. Creatures you control can't be the targets of spells or abilities your opponents control. And pay 1 and a green, regenerate target creature. And that is all for enchantments. Up next, we've got artifacts. And starting out with some equipment, Swiftfoot Boots is 2 for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1. Lightning Greaves is 2 for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. Equip 0. And our last equipment is Slagworm Armor. It is 1 for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +0/+6. Equip 3. Colfiner's Urn is 3 for an artifact. Whenever a creature with toughness 4 or greater is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may exile it. At the beginning of the end step, if 3 or more cards have been exiled with this artifact, sacrifice it. If you do, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Urza's Incubator is 3 for an artifact. When Urza's Incubator comes into play, choose a creature type. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less to play. Orzhov's Signet is 2 for an artifact that you can pay 1 and tap to add white-black to your mana pool. And Golgari Signet is the same thing, but for black-green. And that is it for the artifacts. Our last category is the land. To start, we've got some creature lands. Stirring Wildwood enters the battlefield tapped. It can tap for green or white and pay 1 green-white. Until end of turn, Stirring Wildwood becomes a 3/4 green and white elemental creature with reach. And Shambling Vent. It also enters tapped. It taps for a white or a black, and pay 1 white-black. Shambling Vent becomes a 2/3 white and black elemental creature with lifelink until end of turn. And Hissing Quagmire enters tapped, taps for a black or a green, and pay 1 black-green. Hissing Quagmire becomes a 2/2 black and green elemental creature with death touch until end of turn. Brushland can tap for a colorless, or tap for a white or a green and deal 1 damage to you. Llanowar Wastes, same thing, but is the black or green pain land. Temple Garden is a forest plains. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. Godless Shrine is a plain swamp and is the black-white shockland. Overgrown Tomb is a swamp forest and is the black-green shockland. Sunpetal Grove enters tapped unless you control a forest or plains, and can tap for a green or a white. Isolated Chapel is another checkland. It enters tapped unless you control a plains or a swamp, and taps for a white or a black. And Woodland Cemetery, again the same thing. Enters tapped unless you control a swamp or a forest, and taps for black or green. Temple of Plenty enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters, you scry 1, and it taps for a green or a white. Temple of Silence, the same thing, but taps for a white or a black. Temple of Malady, again the same thing, but taps for a black or a green. Foul Orchard enters tapped, and taps for a black or a green. I'll probably be replacing this soon with something better. Blossoming Sands enters tapped, and when it enters, you gain 1 life. And it taps for a green or a white. Deathcap Glade enters tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, and taps for a black or a green. Canopy Vista is a forest plains and enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic land. Darkboar Pathway taps to add black. Or you play the other side and tap to add green. Murmuring Bosk is a forest. As it comes into play, you can reveal a treefolk card from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. It taps for a white or a black, and deals 1 damage to you. Thriving Grove enters tapped. As it enters, you choose a color other than green, and it taps for green or 1 mana of the chosen color. Forbidden Orchard taps to add 1 mana of any color. But whenever you tap Forbidden Orchard for mana, you put a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token into play under target opponent's control. Indatha Triome is a plain swamp forest that enters the battlefield tapped and has cycling 3. Command Tower taps to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Forbidding Watchtower enters tapped. It taps for a white, and you can pay 1 and a white for it to become a 1/5 white soldier creature until end of turn. Evolving Wilds. You can tap and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Gavany Township taps to add a colorless, or pay 2 green, white, and tap. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, can tap to add a colorless mana, or you can pay 2 and tap it to choose a color and add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. And the rest of these are just basic land, so we can flip through those real quick. All right. There we have it. Thank you so much for joining me today for a tour of my Doran the Siege Tower Commander deck. I absolutely love playing this deck and I think it is so much fun. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look through it. Maybe you're inspired to try something similar. You can hit me with any questions you have or any thoughts about the deck, and I would love to talk about it. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, I would absolutely love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I put out new Magic the Gathering ASMR videos every Monday and Friday. I truly appreciate all of your support, and I hope you have a wonderful day.